I think you do have to be some sort of a slightly adventurous soul to be living and cruising with this sailboat. We just had a really crazy run to Bahia Coco. We just zoomed back to Bahia Hermosa and it's just unbelievable rolly here. So we're picking up anchor, heading over 3-4 miles to a more calm anchorage, hopefully more calm. There's a bit of wind coming up and rain, so we'll see how this goes. But yeah, it's like a boom, 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 bam, 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 anchor up and off we go. Once we get behind this little nook, I think this should all get a lot better. It's another 2.5 miles to go. And I think once I'm passing this nook, maybe I'm gonna switch up the engine and see if I'm just gonna sail this last little bit. Right now I'm motor sailing, just because I really wanted to get out of the swell. I guess I could take the time and tell you what we just did, because I didn't film because my GoPro SD card was full. Maria, I would say, awesome vlogger as usual, always prepared with spare SD cards and batteries. Yeah, that's not me. We went from Bahia Hermosa with a dinghy to Bahia Coco, which is only a 20-minute ride, and it wasn't too bad. But arriving there was fairly rough. There's a reef in the middle of the bay, so we went around that, and on that side it looked just ridiculous. So we went on the other side, and then for a moment it sort of looked okay. So we threw the anchor and hauled backwards towards shore, and then I jumped out and Boga jumped out. Oh, actually Luca jumped out first. We nearly ran him over. Karl was still in the dinghy and a big wave came and nearly threw him over. Like, I just saw him like coming towards me. Wave went into the dinghy and the next one came. Obviously, you know the game. And then luckily one of the Ticos came and helped us. Actually, it was 2 of them. Thank you so much again, guys. And they held the boat and they actually took it out with their lancha because they were going back out, and then they anchored Pecky, which is the dinghy of Karl, up further out in the bay. That was coming in. Then we got to the port captain. Karl had told me that we don't need to go to Aduana, to customs, to check out. But port captain told us, yeah, you do have to go to Aduana. This was 11:30. Port captain closes at 3. Aduana is like 20-minute drive to the airport. So they're like, you're not gonna make it. To the Aduana you have to go because you have to take your boat out of the temporary import that you did. You can't leave without that, and it's only valid for 24 hours. And then you go to the Banco Nacional, you pay like an exit fee of $20, and then you go to immigration, and between being stamped and getting your port captain paper, like your Zarpi, you have 3 hours. It was all a bit of a tight game. You know, we already had gotten into this crazy bay. We were already paying the $60 to go to the airport and back, so we were like, well, we just have to make it. And we did. 2:30, we're done with all our paperwork, which was awesome. Whoa. Boga's like, yeah, well, I'm used to that already by now. Woohoo! Told you we'd be sailing. Nice. So, well, doing 3 knots. Not bad-o at all. Nice. We're nearly there, but who cares?
Inside here and let you do the scouting. There's no point in having 2 going through all these ships.
You see the trimaran? I'm gonna go somewhere on his side, between the yellow orangey boat and the other catamaran and the sloop. Sort of there on the edge.
Okay, that sounds good, yeah.
And for now, I'm just gonna enjoy the peace of sailing and no crazy wave anymore. Yee! There's a bunch of tour boats. It seems that some of them are getting a move on now. Yeah, see, like 2 of them are already taking off. The yellow-orange one, I think, is leaving, and then there's another sloop that's leaving. I'm gonna sail another 5 minutes here and then roll in and then just drift until people have left. And I think I've got 1 beer left for an anchor beer.
I just put 2 in the fridge because the cold one that was in there, I had to have it when we left there after anchor up.
If you want, come on over for your anchor beer if you feel like it.
Yeah, I think that would be well deserved after this day. We do that, have a beer together. But not right away, I wanna wait 10 minutes, 15 minutes just to see everything is cool.
Sounds like a very wise idea. Good seamanship, Paul. Paul, I'm not sure this is the bay.
It's one further. Well, I'm surprised too, yeah, but you're right, absolutely, yeah.
Because I just looked at it and it says like to my next waypoint it's still like a mile and I was like, this doesn't look right.
No, you're absolutely right. But it's cool to know, so actually you can anchor here too, right? So.
Okay, so we carry on to the next one, right?
You got it, let's go have a look.
Nearly anchored in the wrong bay. Okay, the bay that we're actually going to, there's only 1 motorboat. Has a nice beach. Apparently there's a lot of howler monkeys there. Great water, there's no swell at all. And I'm just enjoying the sail and the quietness. Wow. After being rolling around like crazy for the past days again. You get a very good pro at storing things so it doesn't fall, because being at anchor here is, I would say, even worse than being at sea, because when you're at sea, at least when you're sailing, the movement is somewhat smoother. Because the sails sort of lift you and pull you instead of like just the boat being left by itself rolling from one side to the other. Well, I'm gonna enjoy this little moment here with my little Karl. It's amazing. I really don't know how sailboats do this or how sailing does this. Like after a crazy day like this, I was on fire all day long. It was a bit scary at times, I have to say. There was moments where I was a bit scared. And I was thinking, wow, this is a bit of a crazy life that you're living. And now this moment of peace, I think it's the crazy amplitude between being electrified, anxious, full of adrenaline, and then in the next moment just being full of joy and peace. I feel that it's a life between wanting to sell the boat and thinking that the boat was or is the most wonderful place on earth to be. But there's not a lot of in between, at least for me. So think of that first before you buy a sailboat. But I'm telling you, it's definitely worth it. So I'm not gonna tell you not to do it. Currently in a bay that's called Bahia Nakascolo. It's really just a stone throw away from Marina Papagayo, which is like one of the most expensive marinas that I've ever seen. But it's a really quiet anchorage, it's really nice and protected. We've had 2 really good nights of sleep, and now we're gonna head over to Marina Papagayo to fill up some diesel. Hello, Boga. And also have to quickly drive to Liberia because I need to get a travel crate for little Boga for when we fly home to Germany. That's why I thought that you have free will to have time to
Going shopping!
Because landing with a dinghy in Bahia Coco was way too rough to provision and to get diesel for our voyage to El Salvador, we had to bite the bitter pill and take a 15-minute cab ride to next town, Liberia. Also, we had already cleared out of the country, so we were not really supposed to zoom around on the roads anymore, which made my adrenaline level rise a little bit again. Well, boat life surely never gets boring. Peggy, super Peggy. Well, not sure where I'm gonna sit, but Peggy's definitely loading quite well. We have 100 liters of diesel and gasoline, and then probably 80 kilos of food, and then there's probably 140 kilos of Paul and doggies and me. We're waiting for wind. Right now there's nothing. We're like very light turning wind. We're beating into the swell, which was supposed to be 1.1 today, but I think it's still a little higher than that. And it's really short intervals, so it's like 8 seconds. Wouldn't be so bad if it was like 13 or 14, but it's like really short, so it's like and it's stopping us a lot. We're only doing like 3.5 knots, which is probably half a knot due to not so clean hull. So once we get to Santa Elena, I need to dive down and clean the hull. Tiny bit of wind now, but as you can see when you look at the wind indicator, the movement of the waves is so much more powerful than the very light wind that we have that there's no way my Genoa will take this. And it's very little wind as well, it's like 5 to 7 maybe. I was trying to read a bit, but and with these waves, I don't think so. There's a lot of logs, so I gotta keep a good watch out. Nicaragua already. We picked up anchor this morning in Bahia Nakascolo, and now we're on our way to Bahia Santa Elena, which is very much in the north of Costa Rica, nearly at the border to Nicaragua. I decided not to go to Nicaragua. The marina there is really expensive, and because I have to leave Karl for some time because I need to fly back home to take care of a couple of things with InMotion in Germany, I wasn't going to be able to afford leaving the boat in Nicaragua. Now, Paul and I are buddy boating up to El Salvador, where he spent about 8 months, I think. You can check out his videos on his channel, Sailing SB Yerba Buena. He found a really sweet spot up there, which is not in the river where the Bahia del Sol is, but one of the river mouths before that, which is called Tiquilisco, I think. The entry is even scarier than Bahia del Sol, but he told me that as long as we arrive on a slack high tide, we should be totally fine. Paul is quite the vaquero, like quite the cowboy when it comes to sailing, so I'm gonna take this with a, with a grain of salt. This would be really cool because I could leave the boat up there in the river. It's super protected, and Paul is gonna stay there and look after the boat until I'm back, so that would be nice. And I think it's also a really cool area to explore. We're gonna do a little stop before in Isla Tigre, and that's it. We're gonna have another 33 miles to go to Santa Elena. Going a lot slower than I had hoped for. I hope that in an hour the wind is gonna come out as predicted, and then we're gonna be a little faster and can shut off the engine. But for now it looks like we're gonna arrive in the dark.
It looks like there is a fissure somewhere about this direction where we have to go in. So just have an eye open for that guy.
Oh, okay, thanks. Yeah, I saw that guy, I think. I'm not sure what that was. There's just an alarm going off from my inverter. So I have to check, see what's going on. We're nearly there. We just have to go around the point here. The wind died down. There's no more light.
Yeah, I think it's going to be high tide when we come in, and I think it's probably 220, 230 or so. But on Friday it's going to be 250, so I go for that.
Thank you. So yeah, we're just going to go around the corner here and then take in the sail. And there's a couple of fishermen, it seems, so we got to be a bit careful. Paul has got the tracks to go into the bay, but it seems fairly straightforward, and the anchorage looks pretty okay, but we're probably just going to anchor further out and then tomorrow go in a little further when there's light. We successfully dodged the fishing boats and safely dropped anchor in Santa Elena. The next morning I woke up to what I think is one of my favorite bays that I have been to. But more about that next time.